Hello and welcome to Running the Table, the podcast where we run through everything on the table in the world of sports. And we're back with Boombuster Believable, where we're continuing to work our way through the Big Ten, breaking down the men's basketball teams and their outlook for the rest of the season. All the way down at preseason number 12, today we're breaking down the Minnesota Golden Gophers. There's not a whole lot to say about Minnesota, other than they've struggled a lot. They currently sit at 7-20 on the season, a whopping 1-16 in the Big Ten, which is good for last, and that would be 14th. They just haven't had a lot going for them. They've got a couple of decent points on the team, but overall, they don't have a very good roster in terms of competing with a lot of the better teams in the Big Ten, as shown by their 1-16 record. But looking at some of their key players, you've got guys like Dawson Garcia, who averages 15.3 points, 6.9 rebounds, and 1.8 assists per game while shooting 33.3% from three. And then you've got Jamison Battle at 12.9 points, 3.7 rebounds, 1.8 assists per game, and shoots 85.2% from the free throw line. Those two guys are by and far their main scorers. And they've been, sort of the household names in a team that doesn't have a lot of recognizable talent. After that, you've got guys like Talon Cooper at 9.9 points, 4.2 rebounds, and 5.9 assists, as well as notching in 1.1 steals per game and shoots 37.5% from three. He's one of their main guards in terms of leading the show at the top. And then they've got Pharrell Payne at 7.8 points and 5.0 rebounds per game, as well as 1.1 blocks. So you've got, a couple of guys in there that do their role relatively well, but the pieces just don't really fit together all that well. Looking at their KenPom rankings, they have an adjusted offensive efficiency all the way down at 271st, and adjusted defensive efficiency at 165th, which is good for an adjusted efficiency margin of 222nd. So there's not a whole lot of competition with this roster. Their adjusted tempo is at 278th. Their strength of schedule is at 24th. So once again, in the Big Ten, you're going to play a lot of pretty good teams just because the Big Ten is obviously a pretty strong conference. But they actually have had one of the tougher schedules in the Big Ten, which brings us to their key wins and losses. Obviously, they haven't had too many wins. Starting off with some of their more significant losses, they had a home loss against DePaul, 69-53, all the way back on November 14th. But I mean, obviously, in the beginning of the season, a lot of craziness happens in terms of teams still kind of trying to figure out who they are as a team, but not a whole lot was figured out in Minnesota's case. They did have another loss against UNLV. This one was on a neutral court, 71-62 back on November 23rd, as well as a third loss in the month of November at Virginia Tech, 67-57 on November 28th. But a key win for them, yippee, they did have a win at Ohio State, 70-67 on January 12th, and that is their lone Big Ten win this season. Like I said earlier, there's not a whole lot to say about them, other than there's just not much going on. Dawson Garcia and Jamison Battle have been really the only bright spots for this program, and both of them have dealt with injury issues of their own, so there's been a good amount of the season where they only have maybe one of those two guys playing at a time. Both of them playing together at least gives them, a fighting chance, especially at least on the offensive side of things, because most of those guys are pretty good scorers in their own right. But the defensive end of the floor also just kills them. In terms of bracketology, there is no bracketology.
In terms of money, we have no money.
There really wasn't high expectations for this team, considering the fact that they came in at preseason number 12 in the conference. But I'm not sure if anyone was really expecting this much of a struggle. But the Golden Gophers wrap up their regular season with 2 home games against Rutgers and Wisconsin, so they look to put this disappointing season behind them. But that's all I've got for today. We're so close to getting through all of the 14 Big Ten teams. So thank you all for sticking with me through the series. It's been one hell of a ride. But here on the channel, we've still got all of our NFL content from this past season, as well as everything we're doing with college basketball. We're really excited to dive into the madness here soon. But if you want more from us, check out our other videos, like and subscribe. And until next time, peace.